Hello everyone, I am Chava Peribán. This is Heritage Mezcal, and today I'm here with my friend Sophia Trapp. Welcome, Sophia, to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's nothing but a pleasure, as per usual, especially because you bring really delicious things to try. Yeah, I like you as a person too, but I like you even better when you bring pretty bottles.
That's good. That's good.
And so I think that we made a previous episode that I'm actually not super sure if that's going to be airing before or after this one. So let's just say we've recorded today things that are not necessarily going to be chronologically in publishing. But I wanted to talk to you about something that I find incredibly interesting. I think that right now, one of the most exciting things about agave spirits in general is that we are understanding that there's many, many regions around Mexico. There's probably hundreds of producers. There are as many as flavor profiles as one could imagine. And so there's a lot of work to be done in order to showcase each one of these regions in the proper manner and telling everyone that this is the most diverse, most complicated drink in the world. And you decided to do that with the Bajío region, if may I say so, specifically with Guanajuato. So can you tell us a little bit about this incredible endeavor that you've embarked with the Casa Agave project?
Well, thank you very much for having me first and foremost. Yeah, no, Casa Agave was born out of the drought that we've been having in Guanajuato. And I am the director of a nature reserve in Guanajuato, a very significant one. And I'm also a cattle rancher. So what we were doing was trying to find food for our cows, found food through the agave, which was a miracle in and of itself. And at the end, we were left with these amazing piñas, the hearts of the agaves. And when we discovered, it was only then that we began to look over our fence line, and we began to discover this very, very deep culture, history, pride, artistry of distillates in Guanajuato.
Which came as a surprise to you, right?
Totally. I mean, I didn't find it until I arrived in Guanajuato in 1999. 25 years ago. And in 2000, I began my Mezcal journey. Wow. But I say Mezcal, and I have to get more clear. I mean, Guanajuato, which I didn't know, it has 11 municipalities that have DO of tequila. So many people drink tequila, don't even know that there's Guanajuato tequila.
I mean, the most famous of it being Corralejo, I would say.
Corralejo is the most industrial, I would say. And I would say it's just a lot of people who set out to make famous Guanajuato tequila. What they do is grow the agaves in tequila and then take them to Jalisco to process and sell, because otherwise they feel they wouldn't have an equal shot at the market.
Oh, that's so interesting.
So on the other side so that's the west side of Guanajuato. On the northeast side of Guanajuato, you have two DOs, which are actually technically mezcal. So it's the DO mezcal. And as we all know, a mezcal has to be 35% to a certain higher percentage, let's say 46. I'm not quite.
They don't allow for puntas, so I think it stops in the 55. I mean, I hate them for that.
Well, no, I think I heard even 50. So either way, you're with a range, but there's two. No one knew or knows, and I didn't, that there was a whole Guanajuato mezcal. I think it's like the best kept secret, and I was living on the secret, and no one even told me.
Well, because they don't serve it at the bars.
No,
so
they
don't. You will never walk into a bar in Guanajuato and somebody will ask you if you want to try some of the local delicacies.
No, they never had it. They would offer you Oaxaca mezcal, as many as you want. And that was when I started seeing how crazy it was. So a large part of my journey began saying, well, I have these agaves. I would like to make a mezcal or let's say an agave spirit, because San Miguel de Allende doesn't have any of the DOs, and we can only make an agave spirit, which I like, because I think we're about to embark on quite a conversation about breaking the rules. And I think that is part of what Guanajuato mezcal maybe has to offer, is that it's made differently, it's cooked differently, it's fermented differently, it tastes differently, it uses different agaves. So it's kind of, if you're an aficionado of all things mezcal, it would be a natural next step to want to come and explore all this, because I can promise you, anything you would taste would not taste like anywhere else in all of Mexico.
It definitely has a very, very distinctive fingerprint. And I think that it's it's not an easy job. It's not an easy enterprise to get into spirits, because in the same way that all of these things make them so lovely, they also make them very complicated. The only difficult thing about agave spirits is that everything is difficult.
Yes.
So I am pretty sure that when you were starting this project, you were like, okay, I have a lot of expertise in certain areas, but I cannot pretend to be able to gain all of this knowledge really quickly, as smart as you are. So, like, who were the people that I guess, like, you surrounded yourself with? Like, how did you find the team? Like, yeah, I just want to know, who were the people that kept close in order to keep on doing this lunacy of working in agave spirits?
Well, I'm a big believer in knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know. Okay. So I think that keeps you sane. And for me, I always knew my side of the street was the agave, the soil, and in essence is producing the best prime material. So knowing that I had the juiciest, most delicious, flavorful agaves, the idea was, now what do I do?
Yes.
And I have to say, I'm a little crazy that way, or a dreamer. I set out to finding who were the top master distillers of all of Mexico.
Okay, that's actually, like, if we engage in that discussion, I think we should bring machetes, and like, it's gonna be a difficult one. Yeah, like, how do you choose the ultimate master distillers of Mexico? Like, I mean, I have my favorite ones, you have your favorite ones, but you went for it.
I went for it. And in the end, I do have to say, you always have to go for the stars. But then let's be honest, the one that you love the most is the one that actually calls you back.
I mean, that's true for so many things in life.
I know. So one of the things that it was really interesting is I ended up in my search. So new generation, it was all online first. It's very hard to get into the on the ground network of who likes who, because there's so many different. And I was so lucky to find the name of a gentleman called Germán Gonzalez Gorochotegui. And you should have, well, the praises that I heard about him and his deep roots, fourth generation, the elegance, and I hadn't even tried what his offerings, etc. But I was reading what everybody was saying to him, and I said, what have I got to lose? And I wrote him a letter, and old school, and I explained
wait, you wrote a handwritten letter. Love it. Yep. Love this so much.
And of course, afterwards, I had to follow it up with an email. But it was written from the heart, where I told him my whole vision about the agaves, the future of the agave industry, how I felt that I had something to offer to the agave industry, and the idea that we could begin to use agaves to restore all of the land that we had lost in Mexico.
Which, for somebody that makes tequila, I'm sure they have never heard such a narrative.
Well, interesting. Well, he hadn't heard a proposal that someone had the audacity to say, I have a solution. But I think that most tequila makers, if you would speak to them in a quiet corner away from anywhere and would say, do you really think that we can sustain this for 3 more generations? It's my understanding that many already understand that the way that they're planting and harvesting and growing is not sustainable.
Even the genetics of the poor plant.
Well, this is it. I don't want to offend anyone here, but I think we all know there's a problem. And in the end, when you come at it as a chef or as someone, you also understand there's flavor issues. And my whole thing that soil leads to flavor, etc., or the quality of the prime material also leads to different flavor. And so when you're constantly having to produce an excellent flavor tequila out of a soil that has nothing left to give, that is almost an impossible proposition.
Yes.
So when I wrote to Germán and I said, I have a dream and I would love to be able to meld your expertise and offer you what I have, are delicious agaves, and I'm in Guanajuato, and there's a nature reserve, and if you could lend your celebrity to that, we could begin to show people that there's a new way to do it. And I was honored that I got a response. And what was so beautiful is that very studied and very sober, as all of us farmers are, was, I'm interested to hear more. But if you can do what you truly say you could do, then maybe my grandchildren have a chance.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
That's lovely. No, that's
and
really cool.
The idea of just saying that there's a different way and there's a different flavor. And what I didn't know about Germán, and I think this was the winning ticket, was that his mother comes from Guanajuato. And so I had spoken to the only master distiller whose father was from Tamaulipas, from the tequila industry, but his mother and he had spent his summers in Guanajuato growing up. And he already knew Guanajuato. And so to find someone from tequila who was willing to embrace the mezcal world, the Salmiana world.
I mean, like people think it's easy for people that work with agave azul to get closer to mezcal and other agave spirits. But for me, like just a personal experience, it's easier to convince somebody that works in wine to give agave spirits a chance, to want to work, to want to collaborate. Mm-hmm. I'm not exactly sure of what goes in the minds of the people that are obsessed with agave azul. I'm not going to speculate about that in this current episode, but it's never happens. Like it's
very rare.
It's almost like you're insulting them to ask somebody that's in the tequila context to give agave spirits of any other genetics, region, fermentation style, distillation style a chance.
I had never heard of it before, and I'm in awe of the I would say the courage, but also the curiosity. And it's such a pleasure. I mean, I do my side of the street, but I'm witness to Germán making his connections in Guanajuato or in San Luis Potosí and having these beautiful conversations, because what's beautiful is that it's both ways. The mezcal maker in Guanajuato has never had a tequila, a famous tequila maker come, and to see them sit and speak, talk shop for 5 hours and sharing, the mezcal maker in Guanajuato, who no one sees yet, finally receives, I would say, a connection of great strength. And Germán is completely open to learning. And so what's coming out is his mezcal or I really should say agave spirit, the agave spirit that he just curates and works with the master distillers in Guanajuato to find the right recipe for when he has his distillery and he makes his production of Atzin, which is the name of his agave spirit from San Miguel de Allende. It is the fruit of countless hours of exploration, flavors, making different decisions at the alambique, making decisions at the fermentation, making decisions in the field. And it's coming out of, I mean, I'm not even a tequila distiller, so it's coming out of that and having a whole new journey.
So for me, another thing that is incredibly interesting about this collaboration is that if there's something that Germán is tremendously famous for, is aging. He's in my mind, for my palate, he does the most stunning wood aged product in the tequila context. Tears of Llorona. If you have some $300 spare, I will very much.
400 by now.
Oh Lord,
Yes.
Inflation is killing all of us. But so yeah, well, back in the day, $300, now $400. If you have those that amount of money to spare in drinking something delightful, I very much recommend you do that. But he does an extra añejo. So he's not only a reposado, he does some of the most interesting flavors combining wood and agave that I've ever encountered. And what we're drinking right now, actually, because we're sipping it, the Atzin has no wood influence to it. So I just wonder, like one will think that somebody has so much expertise and is so known for barrel aging, he will take the same mentality into mezcal, but he decided to do something very, very different. Do you have any, I don't want...
Well, I can't wait for you to interview him one day, because I think your viewers, and even including me, every time one sits down and speaks with him, I think, that is where the authentic answer is going to lie. But as a witness to the last 2 years where we've had this conversation. For him, it's been beautiful to see him go through an agave distillate. And of course, it's a Salmiana. It's not an agave azul. Yeah. So I think right now there's such an awe of the flavor profile and the minerality of the soil and the expertise that exists in Guanajuato that is still yet to be discovered by the greater public. The expertise is not bowling him over so much that for the moment, and I think for a while, he doesn't want to touch what he considers right now perfection.
I mean, that's
it says it all.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful thing, and I mean, I'm not surprised because it's really, really pretty. And then I understand that Casa Agave has Atzin, and this is not a cheap bottle because it's really hard to make. So I will say it has the right price for the lovely flavors and the amount of work that it's behind it. But you also have another product which I absolutely love because it makes people go crazy. People fight over this. Either they love them, they hate it. I've been insulted in public for pouring this to people,
really?
But I've been celebrated at the same time. So this
depends who you talk to.
Yes. So it is in the same way that Atzin makes nobody indifferent because it just packs such a beautiful punch. Mata de Monte is more of the rebellious kid. So I'm going to serve some of that. And can you explain me what are we talking about? Yeah. If you're looking at this on the YouTube channel, you'll be looking at the bottle right now. So tell me a little bit about Mata de Monte.
So Mata de Monte also is something that breaks all the rules. That's what I love to say. And it is a green Salmiana, but now wait for it. It is distilled only once. Oof. And it comes out at 29%.
And I love that ABV, even though anybody that's a purist is like,
well, no, instead of purist, I say professional.
Mm.
So when you're a professional, you like a professional drink, which is what we were kind of saying is that you have your hacienda drink, you have your patron mezcal, which is for the owners, or is the serious mezcal.
It's the one you drink 46. When you're making like the decisions. Yeah. You're like invited people from Spain.
Exactly. Like you're important. And so you have an important drink to go along with it. But you can't have an important drink every night. You never have your Macallan 18-year-old every night. You don't tend to share that very much. You don't tend to give it out to everyone. It is not a social drink. It is a very specific, let's say a more professional drink, is a professional drink.
Ceremonial. It is a ceremonial drink, yes.
It's serious. What Mata de Monte is the exact opposite. It is, and literally historically, it is cerveza before there was even beer. It is Beaujolais Nouveau. It is what the bottle you open up, you put it on the table amongst the whole family, and you finish it. And everybody has it. And it's what your grandparents will like, what your aunties will like. It's what anybody would like. But it's not meant to be professional. It's meant for the pauses, the social gatherings in between the professional moments.
And it's, I mean, cheers, first of all.
Yeah, no.
Because I'm like, I'm so used to sipping alone stuff that I don't even share to people. So, yes, this is, I think that, like spirits in Mexico and just like any alcoholic drink, like fermented stuff, pulque, just all of that, they are a big part of our social lives, right? Like connections between our personal, like families, love, friendship, anything that's worth something, it's sometimes touched by alcohol, and I hope that doesn't sound too bad, but that's the reality of it. But if you're drinking something at 50 ABV,
that's one glass in your socialist.
It's like you start not being yourself.
Yeah.
But it's something at 29 that it's also. Like, and this is like probably controversial.
No, I wish everyone could try some through the YouTube channel.
Yeah, right? Like,
I hate talking about it. It's like you can't,
Because on paper, it doesn't sound like it's so hard to translate how it feels. But it's also that I think it gives space for other things to happen. You know, when you're drinking something in like 45, 42, 50 ABV, it just overtakes all of you.
Yes.
Like
it's present.
Even the idea of pairing it with food, I find it like counterintuitive. Like because there's too much information already. Like
that's a good, yes.
you can, but I think that you should just like pay attention to the one thing you have in front of you. It's like a high ABV, super powerful, super expressive spirit. Whereas with the Mata de Monte, I think it gives space to other things.
Yeah.
Like
to falling in love.
To,
or to eating. Or to,
dancing,
to laughing.
yes.
To dancing. It's with you. It opens you up. I mean, but honestly, to speak about the 29%, very often the first thing we hear is, oh, isn't that watery? It's too light. The most amazing thing about Guanajuato is because they actually chopped down their whole forest at some point when the Spaniards were there for the mining purposes, they began not to have that much wood. And so they started using steam. Yeah. So the steam, what I love about Mata de Monte, it's the perfect essential essence of the agave plant and water. Nothing else.
Okay, but
no fire.
But that's so controversial, especially for the kids that are incredibly attached to the idea of whatever we call traditional production of agave spirits. Because, you know, using the conical oven with exposed fire that comes out of wood to cook the agaves creates a lot of flavors. But if you think about it, you're infusing this agave with flavors that are not there. It's like the equivalent of beating.
I'll say that the agave has the flavor. And that's the thing, that you don't need to add flavor. If you truly, a salmiana is what we call brava. You know, it has attitude. It is not your insipid little agave. It has attitude. And when you think of the minerality of the soil, it's packed with iron and copper, and throw some magnesium in it and throw whatever else. The soil is like licking metal any which way you go. So you have these agaves that have had the pure sun, the soil. Salmiana itself just has tude. And then all you need is vapor. You need steam. You need nothing more. And so that's what I would say. And I think that everybody should anyway never try to make something from somewhere else. And that's what we have in that area. But I'm telling you that I only believe this works because it's Salmiana. At 29%, it's only the Salmiana flavor. It has enough flavor that it comes through. Otherwise, I think it would be like water.
So it's so interesting. I happen to, I use this a lot to bring it around. I love to serve it in parties and stuff. Like it has become one of my party tricks lately. And I remember, yeah, absolutely, yes. It's
a great party.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, before, and shame on me, well, not shame, just like I was a different person, different approaches. I used to have just like a bunch of small puntas bottles everywhere in my house, so that if I went to go to a party, I would just bring like half a liter of puntas for the party. I started getting banned out of parties.
Really?
Because people were doing such terrible decisions. Like, you know, like I was drinking stuff at 65 ABV. So like people is like,
naughty.
I just kissed my ex last night. Like, I hate you, Chava. You poisoned me. I was like, but it was delicious at the time. It was like, they were like, yeah, it was delicious, but are you crying out of this? No, you're crying because that line is too strong. But
I'm loving the story because it's so true.
So I was like, oh, I have to change my approach. I cannot keep on feeding these people that are already wild 65 ABV spirits. Like, yes, I need to bring something else. So when I found the Mata de Monte, and I was like, okay, I think this is going to probably work better. And I started bringing it to parties and events and all kinds of stuff. And I love it because I usually get a pushback. Especially in the type of places where I go, which is a bunch of nerds. They're like, yeah, I'm sure this doesn't taste like anything. I'm sure it's watery. I'm sure it's not expressive. I'm sure it won't tell me a story about an ecosystem. I'm sure it won't tell me a story about water source, whatever. And I once served it to somebody who was in the alcohol business in the US. And what she said was like, if we were able to make something out of rye that had this complexity at this ABV, you will see a whole market segment in the US
open up
of 29 ABV rye bourbon products, but we can't. Our product, I mean, I'm paraphrasing what she said, but she was like, our prime materials do not have the complexity to go this low in ABV and still be expressive at this point. And that's when I was like, we are so freaking lucky to have these incredibly complex plants that have all this oil, all these elements, all of these flavors attached to it, and that get to be expressed at this lower ABV space. We shouldn't be complaining about it. We should be celebrating the fact that we're able to do that. But again, it's like, I think Mexicans, because we have so much, we like have myopia.
I can get it. And I think that that's sometimes what's good. Like, I only exist because I brought I don't have rules, or I'm not a mezcal drinker of that level. So I didn't care. I didn't feel like I was insulting the god, Mayahuel or something. And instead, I felt that I just felt like I don't exist to do the same as anybody else because I can't, and I could never do it better. But I could perhaps bring a new perspective, and I could perhaps say, you know what? This has a value and it's delicious. But I think maybe the bravery that I also had was when I found out afterwards, because I discovered the spirit first under a tree of just joyful older men who were just passing their retirement together, having the time of their lives, and almost like, I guess, I'll have what he's having. I went over to say, what's the big secret? Can I have some? And they shared with me and they said, oh, this is what we drink. This is what we drink. This is what we drink under the tree. And I had come from the Oaxaca where it's like, no, everything needs to be just so and the glass just so. And it needs to be the lunar year on the Tuesday and the second blood moon.
You have to be standing straight.
And maybe tilt over. And these were guys just like, no, this is how we pass our time. We've done our work. This is our passage. And the best time was being had by all. And they shared and I had some. And that's where I was like, for those of us who aren't blessed to have the palates, perhaps, that everybody is, this could include us. This could bring us in. This could be something that breaks the rules. So therefore, if I'm not normally a mezcal drinker, I could too enjoy this and still be invited in to the party.
This is so critical because I have a lot of conversations with bartenders or like beverage directors and whatnot. And a very recurrent conversation is how can we build bridges towards like the high ABV, super complex, lovely stuff that we all nerds like, right? And one of the usual solutions that it's being offered is like it's through cocktails. Through cocktails, we can convince people that they drank, and I understand that approach, but at the same time, drinking a cocktail, it's a drastically different experience than drinking something neat. A cocktail is refreshing, it's colorful, it's like, I'm in a very different mood.
And who can hide 55%? I'm sorry. Like, it's, as you were saying, you don't even think maridaje in a meal, and then you want to make a cocktail? And there's great cocktails with 55, but I don't know, the more I got to know the master distillers, the less I would want art like that level to become a cocktail. But I don't want to put my judgment on it. But there's people that will be like, wait, you're putting my 18-year-old Macallan in a cocktail? I mean, there's a cost at the end, and then there's things, and then there's artistry, and then there's celebrity. And if someone did it, I mean, I don't even know if someone would really mix something with tears of Llorona. It's like if you have the honor to have that glass.
I'm we're talking
here. I know. Believe me, I'm already outside looking in. But
but I mean, like, I think like what I'm trying to like sort of say is like, the idea of drinking something neat, it takes a different mindset than having a mixed drink.
That's true.
And that comes just from the idea you have, like super simple stuff, like just having a smaller glass feels different than having a larger serving.
That's true.
It's you're gonna be sipping at a different pace. It's almost like you have to arrange your body in a different manner when you're drinking neat.
Yeah.
And something that I love about the low ABV approach is that you're keeping a lot of the same elements of experience that will come with drinking something neat that's probably more aggressive or more complex, but everything else, every other part of the gesture is there. So in terms
that's a
of,
good way to put it. It just dials down the intensity and it opens it up it's friendly. And it's definitely by not having the smoke or, I mean, it's so funny because people are always like, oh, no. And then they have it and then their body goes back for the second, they're finding themselves have a second or third sip. So I like to say it's easy to drink, easy to love, easy to share, breaks all the rules. I mean, there is no other low ABV. And it was only, and interestingly, I think people will think that it's something new. But what's so cool about this, which made me just stand to my guns even more, is that this was what everybody drank. Everybody. Those 10 million liters that we were speaking about before that were produced in 1790, it wasn't the puntas. It was the vino mezcal.
And it makes total sense because it was expensive to make these things. So can you imagine the amount? And we're talking about societies that were very unequal. So we're not like, let's just say,
separated back then.
So we're not like these people that were working in these haciendas. Let's just say they were not going to the cocktail bars buying the $20 $20 martini. Like these were not part of.
No, you needed your liter, and you had that as your party favor.
And to be honest, like it was even a working tool. Like, can you imagine working in the mines back then under the? I mean, I'm probably going to talk about like something very dark, but you need to be a little bit buzzed when you were under the earth doing this work. And pulque couldn't handle these temperature changes, couldn't handle a whole day of work. And it's also like lower ABV. So I'm pretty sure that if you're working something that is brutal to your body, you have like a liter of this going down the earth, you're sipping this, nursing yourself, and that's how you survive the day. So I don't know like how complementary is that, but like I think it was a working tool. It was a way to have like some joy in your life. It was a way to share a meal. It was just it
was a social tool as well. I think anything for church. There wasn't communion wine back then. So I mean, you're talking about a way that it was the thing that lubricated any social event as well.
You know, I just found a document that's hilarious. In the 1600s, when like coconut wine, coconut bread, distilled coconuts were starting, there's this document of a senior, I don't know, governor or something saying like, this thing is going on. They're making coconut wine and they're spiking the wine for the communion with coconut wine. So
you get it where you can get it, I guess.
So to get to the point to spike the communion wine with this stuff, like it was definitely part of the social tissue. So I don't know, that just made me laugh quite a bit.
Yeah, but that's what I find so fascinating. And when you look at now history, near history, so you had this drink that everybody drank. Even, as I said, even the hacienda owner drank it daily. He would have his special one with special friends. But it was everywhere. It was ubiquitous. Then how did it disappear? And so then we can answer that question, but then it disappears. And then I think, you can look at the Mexican Revolution. You can look at the beer companies. You can look at the wine companies. You can look at different perspectives of being civilized, being wealthy. There's all these different, I would say, standards that you could use. But what was fascinating to me, being there in 2020, and no one knew about it, and only the locals were still, drinking it. But it wasn't commercialized. It had completely just drifted back into the local cantinas. And then it was so fascinating because I kept bringing it out and bringing it to my events and bringing it to the bar and then serving it to New Yorkers and serving it to Germans and serving it to Argentinians. And the joy everybody had of like, finally something that I can love. and that I have a connection to agave spirit, whereas before I didn't feel invited or it was friendly and I felt excluded. And this is where I was going, how fantastic that this is what Guanajuato can revive again.
To make you feel invited. I mean, that's a gorgeous way of explaining it. It's just to really open the doors to a
agave world.
Yes.
It could be like the bouncer.
A nice bouncer.
No, sorry, not the bouncer. It should be the maitre d'.
Okay,
Here,
yes,
it's
please.
the maitre d'. Come to this table. And once you love this, you could love something else.
Or stay there as well. And I think that is another thing that makes this so exciting. As any other thing that happens with agave spirits, once you see the tip of the iceberg, it turns out there's a big block of ice underneath.
True.
And I'm pretty sure, and I've already been doing a little bit of research about this. There's a lot of examples of lower ABV stuff that were traditionally produced all around Mexico. It's just that, I think it's really interesting when it happens to me personally all the time. When I go to a new palenque, a new region, and they look at me because these people are smart to the bone. They're looking at you. They're like, which are the indicators? What this kid? That looks like somebody likes mezcal. So I'm gonna give them the high ABV. Like they know exactly what to give you depending how you look, how you talk, like how you like the things that you pretend to know, like your value judgments, all of that. So I've been asking more and more, hey, do you have anything that's low? And a lot of the answer that I get is like, really? Do you like that? Are you interested in that? And I was like, yeah, like I'm open to it. They're like, oh, that's interesting because a bunch of the city kids, white kids, so-called agave nerds that come, when we give them lower ABV stuff, they were always opposed to it. And this happened to me in Jalisco.
I'm sure in Oaxaca too. And it was funny because when I found this recipe and then I went to the person who was going to help us make it and who had the knowledge to, it was very interesting because it ended up being, you don't know what you're talking about. And, no one's going to like that. And that's just, what we serve to the people. And I said, exactly, I'm the people and I really want it. And I want to drink it. So if I really want to drink it, I'm pretty sure that there are going to be some other people on my side who want to drink it. And it was just so beautiful because I do believe the joyful thing about travel and intercultural exchange these days is to offer new perspective. And so when you can see your own culture again through the eyes of someone else, so now all these foreigners come to San Miguel, and Mata de Monte is totally recognized now as the spirit of San Miguel de Allende. People have it at their weddings. People have it in the bars. We're already in 95 bars because the clients kept asking for it. Like, I know you have the Oaxaca, but where's Mata de Monte? I came here for Mata de Monte. And so people are now taking that home and they just are starting to have ownership. And now the original person that helps me produce this and distills this says, I never would have thought. No. And this is fabulous. And there's such a new sense of pride. Oh, that comes from us. And so what's so interesting about Mata de Monte, in Cañada de la Virgen, which is the nature reserve that I'm the director of, we started an agave system to grow our own agaves. And that's what we produce Atzin with. So we, in the nature reserve, produce the original 46% pure art form. But when we found this recipe and we saw that it was even possible, what we did was he exported the ecosystem restoration module and transferred it to the other side of the state. And so we grow our agaves in a place that traditionally grew them. They lost them all or used them all. We are now regenerating the soil and through Mata de Monte, regenerating the economy and regenerating a pride in something that is so deep. And so it's beautiful because, again, all this regenerative agriculture, and we call our two regenerative agave spirits. They're the first two regenerative agave spirits in the market. And so when you buy it and you drink it, not only are you appreciating the deliciousness, because that always has to come first, but the story behind it and its DNA is that it's reviving earth, economies, joy, societies, social, and at the end, even soil, and an appreciation of agave culture.
And even the history behind it.
Yes,
you know,
history.
Like it's
reviving history.
Yeah, like traditions for the future is how I like to think of it.
I love that. No, totally. Or we like to say it's kind of something modern, totally rooted in the past. So we don't fly and we love to root things as being, agaves in the soil. But why not have a new perspective? Why not have a new flavor? Everyone else is doing their flavors and they're amazing. We don't need to copy. We should be original and do what Guanajuato can do.
I absolutely love that. And for now, and like this is something that it's also very personally exciting. As many people know, I collaborate a lot with Maguey Melate. And you guys until now have mostly focused all of your efforts in the Mexican market.
Yes.
And I think for the first time, your spirit of Atzin is going to get to travel to the US of A. And it was a collaboration that we made possible through Maguey Melate. We're bottling some of your Salmiana Blanco, which out of all of the Salmianas, I think lately I can confidently say it's my favorite. Distilled by Daniel Navarro, curated by Germán Gutiérrez.
Germán Gonzalez.
Germán Gonzalez. God Lord.
Rochotegui. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Germán Gonzalez. Rochotegui.
Gorrochotegui.
That's such a beautiful
It's
last
a beautiful name.
But it's hard to remember.
I know. Germán Gonzalez.
Germán Gonzalez. And all the environmental services were produced by you or were put together or assembled by you, Sophia. And I just really love this because it's such an, one will use the expression unlikely collaboration, but it's not unlikely. It makes total sense. At the same time, it's a very extravagant group of people that came together and were able to share a conversation of love for land, spirits, processes. And it's almost how had this never happened before? I'm it's so obvious and it just made so much sense. And I'm so happy that it finally happened. And I hope that this really comes as an inspiration for other projects in order to be able to make these complex links or these ways of understanding that the product has to start in the land and it has to end up in your cup, but all of the parts need to be considered correctly. Well, I don't know. That's how I feel about this. Well, I
always said that I think first always is the dream. Nothing happens unless you dream something. And so if I would say that the two things I added to it was first is the vision of it, where the second thing is to know what you know and what you don't know. So if I could say that I had a dream of an agave spirit of the highest caliber and quality with the utmost respect of the earth, there is not one person that could do that. It would require a collaboration. And I would say why it happened is you found finally 3 artists at the height of their expertise who were willing to come together and talk, share, and produce something beyond what each of us could do individually.
I don't know if there's a better way to explain this. Those are beautiful words. Hell yes.
Yeah.
And so I feel I'm a little bit speechless after that. Yeah. And I think that the last thing that I can possibly say is cheers for an exceptional spirit that happily is going to be enjoyed by a bunch of people that really care about the spirits. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm pretty sure there are going to be some available boxes that you can still purchase right now. So if you have any interest in getting a little taste of this, I think in the box, you're going to have Atzin. There's going to be a bonus bottle with a little bit of Mata de Monte for those people that would like to taste this controversial low ABV, and I can't remember which is the other spirit that's going to be in the box with you guys.
I think you said a Sotol by...
No. We changed that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, either way, this whole box started because it's Earth Month. And
correct.
So Dalton, that we know very well from Maguey Melate, the vision was literally to finally begin to expose the story behind the mezcals. And what was so beautiful with Germán and Daniel, all of you who are trying it, you're getting the best mezcal, but you have the added, let's say, layer, and I think you'll all have a card in your box, which explains our whole agave philosophy, the circularity of the growth of the agave, and how many different parts of our nature reserve it touches. And so it's a whole journey that you can learn that agave can be so much more than mezcal, that it can regenerate communities, it can regenerate soil, it can feed livestock, regenerate history, regenerate dignity and heritage. I think you'll get a lot out of that. And for those of you who can't get the box, I really would ask all of you to come visit San Miguel.
Hell yes.
You can, the Atzin and the Mata de Monte are there. We have our bar in Sollano 18. It's called Atzintli. And it is all based around these two agave spirits. And I think you'll never have a better journey. We have all the best spirits of Guanajuato there. So if you want to have like a mezcal road trip, I would really recommend coming to the Nature Reserve, Atzintli, San Miguel, and taste Guanajuato. I really think that this is a whole new chapter that those of you who already know so much, I can promise you it's a new chapter to your journey.
And it's about spirit. It's about understanding a different culture, a different territory. It's, like I always get surprised about the incredible diversity that it's available in this country. And if there's a territory that really surprised the hell out of me was the Guanajuato, San Luis, Bajío area. And I mean, this goes without saying, but also you're going to eat such delicious stuff. So it's a complete package.
We promise you the whole package. That's right.
Yeah. It's good fun, good food, good drink, and good people, and learning a little bit. Well, Sophia, it's been nothing but a pleasure. My English is failing on me right now. It's not only the technical challenges of a studio, but it's also my English. But thank you very much for having this conversation with me. And cheers.
Cheers. It was such a pleasure.
Cheers. Perfection. I think it was a good one.
That was fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, this one I wanted to have like more of a easygoing, like more cheerful approach. I think the other one was like touching. This was Heritage Mezcal, the incredibly eclectic podcast that likes to delve into the depths of the country we call Mexico. I'm Chava Peribán, your host, and I truly hope you enjoyed this episode. All the sounds, all the music, and now all the videos living in YouTube are made by Roy Sierra. Tómese el mezcalito con gusto y medida y nos miramos al rato.